Hello my friends and welcome. Let's start from the front lines review. Well, today the pro-Russian bloggers already said that they've captured Stepove over here. It's Avdiivka region, by the way, so here's the Avdiivka town, and definitely today Russia assaulted towards the place, towards Stepove, but Ukraine sent more reinforcements, kicking out all of them. So for Stepove, yet there is the fighting. Russia struggles to get this tiny little village under their full control. We understand it, our military analytics say about it, and let me even show you the other source. So here we go, hopefully you can see everything. So this is the Ukrainian counterattack even in Stepove. Russia was able just to advance a little further from this railroad over here and over here, but mostly you can see the Ukrainian fire. Where Russia has the advancement is in this place, hopefully you can see. At the same time, Ukrainian artillery continued to strike the Russian forces in Krasnogorivka. It's their main tactical hub in this place, so we have the mark that the Russian vehicles went on fire. Thanks to this information to Mayakovsk73, the expert and analytics who is usually correct about reviewing the front lines. I use many of the sources and all of them analyze the front lines based on the drone images and other information which is leaked to the press or to the internet from the front lines. I also have the personal sources, many of the friends who are fighting on many of the points of the front lines, but sometimes I am unable to say what is actually happening over there. I usually say about it in a couple of days. Also, a couple of days ago, Russia got the attempt to move to Severne from Vodene, but all of their vehicles were ambushed with the help of Ukrainian artillery and FPV drones. Let's watch some of the photos from the place. So those are the Russian tanks and other stuff, vehicles, BTRs and MTLBs. Those photos were taken by the Russian soldiers themselves and published in the internet. So as you can see, they have the constant attempts in getting more of the ground, but as I say to you, it happened around 2 or maybe even 3 days ago. For now, they're not so active on the southern line, but more over here in the industrial area. There they have the most success, and also they continue to waste their resources in Stepove region and near to Krasnogorivka. They had the only success in this place the last week, but now we see that their assault stuck. So again, the situation in Avdiivka is not catastrophic for the Ukrainian armed forces. We still have the major supply line, which is unfortunately under Russian fire, but still it is possible to deliver the goods to Avdiivka. Guys, I'm sorry for my voice. Again, I got some sort of the cold. I'm coughing all the time, as well as all of my family members. It's just crazy. This season is total nuts about the health issues, and it is not just about me, it's about my surroundings, let's say. So sorry again about the voice, but nevertheless we'll continue. Let's go to the Bakhmut place, Klishivka, where Ukraine did some sort of the counterattack from this place towards the Russian positions of 1442nd Motorized Regiment. I don't know whether Ukrainian counterattack was successful. For now, I don't have the information from the place, but Russia continued to have both of those vectors over here and over here towards the Ukrainian positions. Let's check out the data. So this is the Ukrainian counterattack, and all of those vectors are the Russian attempts in getting more ground in the area. There was no success for them in Klishivka. And one more hotspot, which is not far away from Marinka, we're speaking about Novomikhailivka. Well, today Ukraine pushed Russians even more from this settlement. Yesterday our guys liberated this part, and today pushed Russians even more to these positions. Let me show you the other map. So it's like that. Awesome news for Ukrainian army. Nevertheless, Russian army has some of the attack vectors in the place. They use even aviation bombs from what I see. They use surveillance and attack the settlement using their artillery systems, completely grounding this small town. So it's very similar to Marinka nowadays, the situation in Novomikhailivka, and I expect that the fight for this small village or the small town will continue for a long time. Speaking about the Kherson Oblast, the Krinky village, Ukraine has the success over there. Russia tried to use Stepove artillery system to target Ukrainian positions, but our guys were the first to target this artillery. As usual, it was the big kaboom for Stepove I would say that those kabooms are the most beautiful ones. They are huge, and obviously what happens to the crew is always the mystery. They just vanish with no sign. Strange, why? Okay, one of the major gas pipelines was cut in Makivka, Donetsk Oblast. There's the huge fire, it's the Russian-controlled territory. Again, someone smoked at the wrong place, or maybe Ukraine used some sort of the drones. My friends, it's not my platform, so I have to use some of the words to explain you something. So let's say that those are the red dots. So the command of the red dots decided to send them to attack yellow squares. I think it also happened near to Avdiivka. At least we have the comment for this video that it happened over there. But it seems like the command of the red dots forgot that yellow squares do have the cluster munition delivered to them from the United States of America. So squares used those munitions on the red dots, and after that the red dots became just circles lying flat on the ground. The full video about the red dots defeat is available on my Telegram channel. You may find it in the video description just below. I was really surprised to see no any backup for the red dots, no tanks, no infantry vehicles, no artillery, basically nothing. They were running straight to the yellow squares positions in the full height, like under some drugs. So definitely they're like red dot zombies or something like that. The scale of this crazy attack is just mind-blowing. How many of the red dots were just wasted for nothing? They didn't gain anything and just suffer over there, turning into the red circles. Oh, sorry, this happened not near to Avdiivka, but close to Bakhmut, near to Terny village, over here. And again, just the usual stuff. I'm already tired of reviewing those videos. So two of the Russian armored vehicles full of infantry. The first one was kaboomed, the second one decided to stop, later on was kaboomed as well. It is happening all around the front lines, so Russia continued to waste their army mostly for nothing. I think they have just 10% of the total success if we speak about their intentions and what they actually have. Ukraine has finally started to build the huge defense lines compared to what Russia has on the south, so definitely we need to dig down very low into the ground to withstand the Russian airstrikes even. However, unfortunately, it's impossible to build them around Avdiivka already because there is the actual fight zone. You cannot just place the engineering equipment over there. Russia would strike on it immediately using artillery and aviation bombs, so there it's too late. However, not far away from Avdiivka it is possible. Still, I don't understand why Ukraine wasn't really that ready for the full-scale war against Russia, because 4 months before the war had started, our partners were screaming about it, that Putin is going to start the war, Putin will start the war. But unfortunately, our government didn't act properly, and still it's the big minus for it. Because of that, Russia was able to enter the southern Ukraine from Crimea, basically taking the land without any fight. The same happened on the north of the Kiev Oblast and Sumy and Kharkiv. Yet we have no particular surname of who is actually was responsible for the defense. I think the responsibility should be shared around the military command as well as around the government of Ukraine. Because now Ukrainian army has to take the land back, using lots of the forces and obviously suffering heavy losses. You saw that this year was not that successful for Ukraine as, for example, the last one, and our expectations just failed because Russia dig down to the ground. That is what we should have done well before, like years before. But what we have is what we have, and it's better to be prepared. Finally. And some is getting prepared for the Christmas, also a good sign. Our drones do a fantastic job, especially in the Kherson region, because the Magyar unit is over there. So for example, today they targeted lots of the shells for the Grad artillery system. They just kaboomed over there, huge fire, and I'll share it again on my Telegram channel. You may check it out. Germany, what are you doing? Awesome guys, you are sending us more martyrs, more than planned, more than was announced. Awesome. So Germany officially promised 100 of the units, but officially delivered 120 of them. Marders are very capable and versatile vehicles. We need them a lot because our Soviet vehicles are very old, like BMP-1, BMP-2. If you compare this one to Bradley, well, this one is lighter, and at the same time it has less armor compared to Bradley. It's understandable, but it makes this vehicle more maneuverable. So Germany, thank you so much for this military support. Orban, our favorite scammer of democracy and everything Ukrainian, he said that the war in Ukraine shouldn't be called a war, but rather than the special military operation. So he exactly follows the Russian narratives. He says that Russia didn't declare the war against Ukraine, so Ukraine didn't declare the war too. Well, there is the state of war in Ukraine, mobilization, but not declared fully. I would agree with that. Actually, it's done to make our economy still run. If the full martial law had been applied in Ukraine, everything would be closed already. Everything would be working on Ukrainian army. Well, from one side it is good, but from the other one, the more economy would not handle it, especially without the external support. So it's still some sort of the special military operation for Orban. Just hundreds of thousands of people are dying, but for him it doesn't really matter. Nevertheless, we expect the first official meeting between President Zelensky and Viktor Orban since the start of the Russian full-scale war against Ukraine. It's interesting what are they going to talk about, because we have the information that the European Union is capable to bypass the Hungarians' veto on the 50 billion euro help towards Ukraine, mostly military help. How I feel it personally that Orban is losing this initiative in blackmailing the European Union. I think he understands that he is not able to play the current game for a very long time. After all, his fat ass would be kicked. Unfortunately, there was the Russian drone attack on Kiev today, and one of the drones hit one of the flats at the penthouse. As it was reported, one man was injured and delivered to hospital. The chief of the Ukrainian Special and Intelligence Forces already said that Ukraine will respond on the Russian attack by performing some of the disruption far behind the front lines in the net of the Russian regime. I think Moscow is there. Alright, the news I was waiting for a very long time. The White House administration is now negotiating with partners to confiscate the Russian funds that were freezed from the very beginning of the war. We are speaking about around $300 billion. America wants to fund Ukraine with that sum. It is way bigger compared to the military help that potentially might go to Ukraine the next year. There we speak about $61 billion, but 300 from the Russian freezed actives in the European banks in the United States. Wow, that's the huge sum. But still there is no robust mechanism of how to take those funds from Russia, even though they're in the Western banks. Well, finally, I think they will find out the way. After all, why should the United States spend their own sources if they have some alternative, which is even better? Those funds might be also invested into the United States economy to produce weaponry for Ukraine. I think it is the best variant possible, so every side wins, except Russia. It would be great if they achieve some sort of the decision and solution to this issue till the elections in Russia. Just imagine how the Russian economy would shrink and collapse if everybody around the world understands that it is very simple to take the funds away from Russia. All of the investors and creditors would just disappear. Yes, Russia still have those, mostly from China, India, and some of the Asian countries and Arab countries. Plus, our allies are constantly applying the new sanctions on Russia. Recently, there were about diamonds and some of the parts from alloy. You may say that Russia still may sell their main resource, for example, oil. But if we speak about their sales to India, the second larger customer for Russia, India pays in rupees for that. And Russia is unable to convert rupees directly into the United States dollars or euro because India forbids them to do it. What India asks Russia to do is to invest those rupees back into the Indian economy. So Russia sells the oil to India but do not have the return. Only way for them to get the money back is through the dark schemes. Then they exchange those rupees several times. They also use the cryptocurrency for that as well. So Russia sells the oil for cheap to India and still do not have enough funds even from that, because for every conversion you lose funds. So still the main capable partner for Russia is China. Yes, they also sell the oil for yuan, but yuan at least has some weight in the global economy. The Indian rupee is not like that, and again India forbids Russia to convert their rupees into dollars. Moreover, Russia now implemented the new law for their companies. So if they get income, for example, in the United States dollars or euro, they should sell those to the Russian bank, to the central bank, and obtain rubles. Imagine the faces of those holders of those companies who took them under control in the wild 90s. They spent their lives for that. They were forced to kill their partners to rise in this business, and now Putin says, give me your money and here are some rubles for you. I think that with this move, a new Prigozhin might appear in Russia, with many of the armed men who would like to change the current Russian regime, and they will not turn back. Well, at least I would like to see it, and we have some of the good signs about it. I'm sure that in the next 10 years period we're gonna see the new Russian revolution, formatting Russia totally, as it happened with the Soviet Union, because the system in Russia is terribly sick and it cannot live like that for a long time. The Russian cringe mobile with the Sarmat rocket on the top, it says towards Washington. Well, it seems like Washington fired back and got rid of the threat, because you see that this vehicle was totally demolished. However, the missile was still okay, or it is still okay. It just flown a little bit forward for the few meters as the real Russian Sarmat missile and hit the ground without any explosion. Alright, it seems like definitely Russia is getting ready for the new mobilization. At least today Putin signed some of the documents that would make it more easier. For example, the electronic conscription would allow Russia to mobilize the Russian men without the paperwork. They will have the notice just in their electronic cabinet, and if they wouldn't go to the Russian army, all of their social life, let's say, would be blocked. Well, actually, Ukraine is also going the similar way. We also have the electronic conscription right now. However, it's not yet put in the law, but it's promised by our government the next year, because Ukraine also announced that it will hire more army men as the response for the Russian possible mobilization. Russia wants to get 400,000 soldiers as volunteers and probably more as mobilized Russian men. So from 15th of January in Russia there will be new ways of how they hire the soldiers into their army without their direct paper notice. But what will happen the next year? The new re-election of Vladimir Putin. Still majority of Russians do support him according to any sort of the statistics. Because Russia gains more resources and Ukraine is still out of those, especially from the United States for the next year, there was the big question from Bloomberg recently: what if Putin wins? Well, I have the response for that, and it's gonna be the topic of our tomorrow's video. Could be interesting. Spoiler, he will not win. My friends, don't forget to press the like to this video. By doing so, you help a lot to my channel. Also, if you want to support my job, you may check out some of the links in the video description just below. Thank you so much for your awesome support. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La la. La la la. La 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 la. La la la. La la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La la. La la. La 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 la. La 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 la.